What's here, y'all? Welcome back to Right at the Wire. Wow, what a race, huh? I mean, that was just unbelievable. That was every 20 years. I guess we have one of these troubled troubled winners. But boy, journalism just showed his class and everything else in taking down the Preakness. Here's the field, and this is what the morning line looked like. And I thought it was interesting that we take a look at what the post time odds were. And these are all approximations, I might add. Some of them are obviously not whole numbers, so just we round it up or down depending. But you can see, Clever again really didn't move a whole lot. This is an interesting thing anyway. For some of you less experienced handicappers, watching the morning line and how it moves gives you a really good indication sometimes of horses to pay attention to, and sometimes it doesn't. When horses are overlooked and you like them, you've got an overlay and you go for it. And when they come down and you don't like them, they're an underlay. But there were a couple that were interesting. Clever again, odds didn't change, and that is a little bit of a red flag, and consequently turned out to be the correct move. And probably he was a big time underlay. We'll see that as we watch the race. But look at Gosgar. So he was 20-1 on the morning line, went off at 15-1. When you see that type of action, that's a pretty good indication that aside from your handicapping, that even if you didn't like Gosgar, and in my case, I will freely admit I did not expect him to run that big a race, but he went down to 15-1. That's the kind of thing sometimes you want to call an audible and adjust, and I'll just throw that out there. You see, Pay Billy went down. I don't really see that. And Heart of Honor went up. And Heart of Honor ran, a really good race to get fifth. And see, American Promise really didn't move a whole lot. And journalism obviously did. And Goalie Oriented moved up a little bit. And he probably justified it finishing fourth. But we've got issues with that ride. I'm sure we all do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch the race unencumbered. Just watch it. Then we're going to watch it again, and I'll tell you some of the things that I noticed in the race, and then we'll talk about it a little more. We'll take a look at the result chart and see how the racing form perceived the race, and then we'll grade it out. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go take a look at the Preakness. Okay, so we're going to look at the Preakness unencumbered and listen to that great call of Larry Colmas. And then we're going to watch it again and take a look at it, and I'll give you my thoughts on the race. So here we go, just watching the race clean.
Outside stall, they're all in line. We are ready for the start. Heart of Honor a little restless, as too is Goal Oriented. They're off in the Preakness. And journalism is out very fast, but Clever again is the quickest and will take the lead with long shot Gosgar going up on the outside. So it's going to be these two to set the pace as they make that final trip past this historic grandstand. And then it's Goal Oriented running in third and Heart held on the inside. And then American Promise in fourth. Journalism broke very well, but he's down on the inside moving into the turn as River Thames goes up 3 wide. Then Pay Billy, Heart of Honor, and late running Sandman is racing 9 lengths from the front as they round that turn. 23.19 the opening quarter mile. That's set by Clever again, and Jose Ortiz, they're out there by a length and a half over Gosgar in second. Goal Oriented is tucked in third. Then to the outside comes River Thames. American Promise, the D-Wayne Lucas runner under Nick Juarez, is fifth right now. 4 lengths from the front, and Humberto Rispoli has journalism just to his inside, now being nudged along to keep up his journalism. He nudged along here up the backstretch with 5 lengths to make up. Then Pay Billy, Sandman at the back with Heart of Honor. The half mile was 46.66 seconds. They make their way into the far turn. Clever again and Gosgar, and these two are right together on the lead, with River Thames running in third. Goal Oriented is fourth. American Promise fifth on the outside. Journalism is still sixth. He's got a lot of ground to cover. He is still 5 lengths behind as they make their way toward the top of the stretch. Gosgar, trying to pull off a huge upset here, has taken the lead on the outside. Clever again cuts the corner. Journalism is getting closer now. He's behind a wall of horses. He's looking for a place to go, and he's got nowhere to go. Oh, he bumped hard with Goal Oriented. In the meanwhile, Gosgar Gasker's running the race of his life, and Sandman has entered the scene, and he has moved up on the far outside. Journalism is still running on. He's back into second. He might even win it. Here's the wire. Oh my goodness! Journalism has won the Preakness Stakes in a performance like you read about.
Okay, now we're going to watch it, and we're going to stop the race at key points along the way and see if we can pick up anything as we go.
Saez taking that outside stall. They're all in line. We are ready for the start.
You see a little bit of jostling there from goal-oriented. Journalism, too. He acted up a little bit in the post-parade. A little concerned.
They're off.
But you see they're off at the break, and everybody got away pretty clean. Heart of Honor hopped a little bit at the break, but actually, Journalism was probably the keenest of all of them. You can see he's got a little bit of a lead early on. Obviously not going to stay that way, but they all broke well. That was the key part. It often is in these Triple Crown races, so we don't really have an excuse there for anybody.
In the Preakness. And Journalism.
You see, as expected, Clever again, right across to get to the lead. Thought goal-oriented might give him a little bit more of a challenge, but he was content to rate. And Gosger really benefited from Clever again going over because he was able to follow him right along, and he got right into the catbird seat. You see River Thames at the first turn here will stop it. You see, River Thames was carried wide, and that was the story for him, the whole Preakness. He was just wide all the way around the track. And for a horse who, where 2 turns is a bit questionable, that obviously was a big factor. And he was really a non-factor in this race. But we got Clever again on the lead. We got goal-oriented, American Promise, and Gosger, and Journalism right behind them rating. And then Pay Billy, Heart of Honor, and Sandman at customary position at the back. So it's all pretty much, we have everybody as expected, where they were, with one exception. I thought goal-oriented may have tried to get to the lead, but as you can see, he really was content not to.
Into the turn as River Thames goes up 3 wide. Then
we come around the first turn,
and late running Sandman is racing
again, River Thames wide. That was the thing that was really the most glaring in taking the turns. You see that wide again. Now 23 for the opening fraction I thought was okay. I was kind of expecting something about that. When I saw it at 46 and 3 at the half, that's when I got a little concerned for those of us who backed Clever again. I think that may be a little quick. And you can see they're not going to give him any rest whatsoever. And you see River Thames just kind of trying to make a little bit of a move. We'll stop it again, and but still wide, and really wasn't able to make any headway. So now you've got pretty much the separation. You can see we've got our early pack, and then we've got our late pack, and then Journalism right in the middle. And at this point, you'd have to believe Umberto Rispoli is trying to make a decision, and I remember watching this live. That's what I was thinking when I saw this. He said he's got to make up his mind. Do I duck in or do I try to go wide to the outside? And you can see right there, the rail, there is some opening. So I think the wheels were turning here, and he's thinking, you've also got a couple inexperienced horses in goal-oriented and Clever again, and a lot of times the way they run will leave the rail open. So I think at this point he was saying, I'm going to probably have a pretty good spot to the inside. Got American Promise backing up, and so really all I'm going to have to worry about is Gosger. I don't know that he was going that deep with it, but anyway, I think he saw the opening to the inside. And you see right there, he had a little bit of a hint of going out, but then decided to duck in.
With River Thames running in third.
And you see, goal-oriented gave him that opening.
On the outside, Journalism is still sixth. He's got a lot of ground to cover. He is still 5 lengths
So he says, I'm going to go inside. I think I can get by him.
Gosger trying to pull off a huge upset here. Has taken the lead on the outside.
Now Clever again's a problem here. And now we stop it again. Here we are at the juncture. Now you see Clever again is doing what a tired horse will do. He's starting to drift out a little bit, and goal-oriented is kind of holding his ground. So what it's done is it closed off that hole that Reese Bully thought he had. And who was the beneficiary of it? Of course, it was Gosger. And he was able to separate because he ran unencumbered. Now, I don't want to discount Gosger's effort. He ran a really big race, and I did not expect it. I'll freely admit that. But it may have been a little illusory on how much separation he got, because once that you had that logjam in there, there was nobody to go along with them because they all got stopped. So Gosler was definitely the beneficiary. Now you see River Thames again wide on the second turn, and he's hanging in there, but he's not making. He's kind of running in quicksand. He's not making any progress, and I think again that does speak to the fact that he's not a two-turn horse. You see American Promise doing pretty much what he did in the Derby, backing up, made a almost identical race in many respects. To the Derby, he was up amongst the leaders, tried to get up a little bit, couldn't get there, backed right up. You see Sandman out to the outside making his move, and Pay Billy, no factor at all, and Heart of Honor is basically just going to follow Sandman. And so now we come to the critical moment right here. Now, this is an interesting, my initial thought was that, that's race riding, right? Maybe Pratt's trying to shut him off. I think there's a little to be said for that. I think you look where he's leaning in. Is he trying to keep journalism out of the mix? A little bit. But I want to just bring up something else that I thought about. And in watching this, you have to remember, that's a green horse you've got there. That's only Goal Arrington's third start. Clever Again, is very lightly raced. So he's backing up. There's no culpability for Clever Again there. He's just dead wood at that point, backing up as a tired horse. But I think some of this has to be attributed to Goal Arrington being a little green. We saw even Sandman, had plenty of starts, but in the Arkansas Derby down the stretch, he was all over the place. It does happen with younger horses. Now, the one thing I think you have to, maybe Pratt was leaning to the left to steady the horse a little bit. Maybe you could say that, but it's a tough call. In any event, no matter what your feeling on it is, that has to be a foul. Because he is moving in, he has to let, by the rules, he has to let journalism, once he's established his position, he has to let him through. And he clearly did not. He drifted in, and that's a foul. How they did not call a foul on this is beyond me. They did have the inquiry. It was way too short. And I think they basically said, well, hey, it didn't impact the finish of the race, so there's no foul. Well, okay, but if journalism wasn't the kind of horse that he was, that would have greatly impacted the order of finish, because Gosger would have won going away, and another horse probably would have been a decent second, or maybe even third, the way Sandman was coming, you could see to the far left. So, to me, Goal Oriented needs to be disqualified down a few spots so he doesn't collect any purse money for that. And that's really what, that's the only way you can really make it hurt. Will there be a fine or a suspension for Pratt? I don't know. It's a tough call. Again, you've got a green horse there, but it was Mortal Kombat there for a while, and so I think they have to do something. And I thought probably the best thing they could have done would have been disqualify Goal Oriented down to maybe 7th or 8th, so he doesn't collect any money or collects less than he would for 4th. I think it does also speak to the horses in the back who couldn't get up for 4th. That, again, it's very similar to the Kentucky Derby, the separation between the best horses and the rest of the pack. So that's what I think of what happened here. What follows it is just journalism. There was precedent for this. He did this in the Derby. Early on, he had a little bit of issues. He just bowled his way through. In the Santa Anita Derby, Barnes tried to shut him off. He bowled his way through. He's just an alpha male, just like his father, like Curlin. And, he just looked like, he just said, get out of my way. goal oriented. Just nobody's going to stop me from my destiny, and that's what happened. So here we go. Look at that. Just get out of my way. And at this point, you thought he's probably going to get second, but that's the best he can do, right? And what an amazing rally. Look at him kicking into high gear. Sandman was just left in the dust. What an effort. So let's grade it out. We'll take a look at the result chart too. So now we're going to take a look at the result chart. And for you less experienced handicappers, and for those of you who know about result charts, bear with me. This is more for the inexperienced people. Just want to bring something up about this. This is a great way also to track horses by reading the description of how they ran in their last race. And one of the things you can get from it is, visually is always the best way in making your own judgment, but a lot of times you can get some good clues from the result chart. And sometimes the description is wrong. So I'll throw that out there as well. And if everybody reads it and doesn't pick up on it, and you do, you can cash. So result chart, a really good thing to take a look at. So let's go along with it. We'll see journalism stayed along the inner rail the first turn and down the backstretch, right? Was under urging approaching the far turn, moved up inside foes, was taken to the two path at the head of the stretch, advanced between horses, checked when bumping with goal oriented on his outside and clever again on his inside near the 3/16, recovered and swung outside inside the 8th pole, closed determinedly, and got up nearing the finish. Pretty accurate, I'd say. Gosger chased the pace outside clever again, overtook that one entering the stretch, opened up in mid-stretch, and gave way grudgingly. Again, good description. Probably, didn't necessarily give you an idea of what a really nice race Gosger ran, but I think it's accurate. Sandman lacked speed, stayed well removed from the inner rail down the backstretch, swung 5 wide, leaving the far turn, and rallied. About right. Goal-oriented remained along the inner rail, stalking the pace down the backstretch and into the far turn, eased out, approaching the stretch, came into the lane 3 wide, checked when bumping with journalism in upper stretch, then weakened. Yep. Heart of Honor, a bit fractious at the start in the starting gate, was slow to begin, lacked speed, swung very wide in upper stretch and passed tired rivals. Yep. River Thames bobbled slightly at the break, raced 3 wide the first turn, stalked the pace outside horses down the backstretch, floating 4 deep, leaving the far turn, and weakened in the drive. Pay Billy, no factor, passed tired horses late. American Promise, keen to go between the horses the first turn, raced in mid-pack to the far turn, came into the stretch 3 wide, weakened and drifted in near the 8th pole. Clever again, sprinted clear and was taken into the inner rail, entering the first turn, remained along the rail, setting the pace to the stretch, was hooked on his outside by journalism in upper stretch, was taken up when soundly bumped in upper stretch, dropped back, and was eased. Yeah, so in this case, I think that the result chart paints a pretty good picture of what exactly happened. So there it is. Just wanted to see, give you an idea of what you can get from a result chart. And in this case, there weren't any inconsistencies, but every once in a while there is. And just another resource for you that maybe if you haven't used before, sometimes can help you out a lot when when you don't want to use just your own visual take on a race. So now let's grade them out. We'll just take them by the order of finish. Journalism, if I could give anything higher than an A++, I would. What a race. Just unbelievable. I cannot wait for the Belmont to see him go up against Sovereignty again. Just an excellent, excellent race. And it just shows you, again, the Preakness demonstrated the gulf between the top 3, Journalism, Sovereignty, and Baeza, and everybody else. I don't think any other horse, save for those 3, could have made that type of effort to win that race. The fact that he overcame all that trouble and was still had enough in the tank to take down the Preakness, I think speaks miles to what kind of horse he is. So just an awesome effort. Gosger, without a doubt, gets an A. He ran much better than I thought he would. He also had a perfect trip. Let's not forget that. He followed Clever Again right to where he needed to be, and he had enough horse to finish. One of the things I underestimated was Chad Brown getting horses ready for the Preakness. Did it with, it's not the early voting effort, but it was more the Blazing Sevens effort, because Blazing Sevens was really not that good a horse and never really came back to do much running. And I kind of put Gosger in that same class. I was not impressed by the Lexington. I didn't think he beat very much, and he did it kind of slow, and he certainly rebounded. I definitely was the beneficiary of all the jostling and all the traffic issues, without a doubt. But it was still an excellent race, so he would get an A. Those of you who have been backing Sandman all along, I hope now you've filed the divorce papers. Sandman ran his race, and it wasn't near good enough. That's exactly what he did in the Derby. Those Arkansas races just weren't very good. He had no excuses whatsoever in the Preakness. He ran his race, and he just had nothing. He just doesn't have enough in the tank, enough of a kick to win coming from behind like he does, and it was underscored by the way journalism just blew right by him. He gets a B because he ran his race, but it isn't good enough, and it's not going to be good enough. And the Belmont, if he runs back in the Belmont, isn't going to be good enough there. Sandman is he got a suck up third, and that's all it was. Goal Arrington, I'm giving a D minus because of all that traffic, the traffic issues. He probably ran a little better than that. I mean, he was along the rail, he saved all the ground, but he didn't have enough horse, and that was really the origin of the problem. He didn't have enough horse in the stretch to make more of an impact, and while I think being taken off stride by journalism certainly hindered his performance, he wasn't going to win the race. I think that's clear. So I think it was a little too much too soon. I think this horse definitely has talent. We're going to hear from him again for sure, but for now I give him a D minus because of the way he impeded journalism. He still is obviously a little green, so he has to get the worst grade of anybody for that. I think he should have been DQ'd down to like 8th or 9th and take him out of purse money. I think that would have been the best way to settle it fairly. Heart of Honor ran his race, suck up 5th. No impact on the race whatsoever. He just wasn't fast enough, and we didn't think he was going into the race. He ran about as expected. River Thames was wide all the way around the track. I did not like him in this race because I don't think he can get 2 turns, and I think it was proven correct. It didn't help that he was wide all the way around the track. But, you did see where they tried to make a little bit of a move with him up around the second turn, and he didn't fire. He didn't have any horse. And I think that's because he just doesn't want 2 turns. The fact that he didn't finish further back, I think really tells you about Pay Billy. He's just not fast enough. He's a nice horse. He's an allowance level horse on the Maryland circuit, and he's an ungraded stakes maybe. He's a solid horse, but he's just not graded stakes caliber. And so he gets a D because he didn't do any running at all and didn't impact the race whatsoever. American Promise gets a D because I thought he would run better. I freely admit I was higher on this horse than I should have been. And note to self, do not bet American Promise again. And, I think I've given this horse way too much credit. And he just didn't do anything in that race. He's just not good enough. I think that's really what it comes down to. Clever Again, I was wrong about this one, boy. I think this is too much too soon for this one as well. And he had to do all the heavy lifting early. They didn't give him a breather, and he wasn't able to slow things down. I thought if he had been able to get it to 48, 47 and change, 48, he may have had a chance to stick around, but he just didn't get a chance. I thought they did exactly what they should have, and he just didn't have enough. And so I think that ninth place finish is a little illusory because after the jostling they had to ease him, but he wasn't going to finish in the money. I think that's clear. So he gets a D plus because again he had to do all the lifting early. So in sum, I mean, any of these horses who run back in the Belmont, if there were any of them, the only one I would want is Journalism. And again, it's going to be the story for the rest of the year, unless we have some late bloomers, is that you've got the top three and everybody else. And I think that this race really pointed that out. I don't think any other horse in this field could have done what Journalism did. And he's just a phenomenal horse. Like I'm so impressed with this horse. I liked him in the Derby. I was impressed with him in the Derby, but this one was just really awesome. And I can't wait to see the rematch in the Belmont. I'm sure you feel the same. So that's the Preakness. Great race, a lot of fun. It really sets the Belmont up to be a classic, and I can't wait for that at Saratoga. I'm going to be there too, so I'm really excited to see that race. Certainly, if you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And again, thanks to all of you who continue to grow the community. I know there are going to be comments about this. I know there's going to be a difference of opinion. I welcome it, no problem at all. It's one of those things, you can have a lot of different opinions, and there's going to be credibility to all of them because it was just a really unique situation, and it certainly breeds controversy. So let's hear some different viewpoints. I love it. I think we can all benefit from hearing different slants on this race. We will have plenty of Belmont coverage, obviously, coming up. We're going to do this week, we're going to tackle claiming races, maiden claiming races, allowance races, and maybe even an ungraded stakes. And perhaps we'll have for the weekend we'll have a sequence, a full card, best bets, value plays, all that good stuff. But a little bit of a lull this week, so we can tackle some handicapping posts to give you some insight that for the races on the lesser cards or on the ordinary cards, as we say. So that's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.